minutes before 7 o'clock here on Morning Live, as we've been reporting in the news that President Cyril Ramaphosa has called on opposition parties and the citizens to contribute meaningfully to the debate on land expropriation without compensation. Ramaphosa had his first question and answer session since becoming the President of the Republic in the National Assembly yesterday. He answered questions ranging from former President Jacob Zuma's legal costs to the state, the social grants issue, and that of SASSA, of course, and many other issues. But just to zoom in on some of the issues, of course, that transpired, we're joined now by political analyst and governance specialist from the Unisa School of Governance, Dumisani Hlophe. Good morning to you, Dumisani. Thank you so much for coming through.
Thank you. Good morning, and to the viewers.
Good morning. Just before we talk about what happened in Parliament yesterday, I mean, it's only fair that we get your views on Shaun Abrahams, of course, likely to announce his decision today. We're not preempting, but what do you think it's likely to happen?
Yeah, we're not preempting. My gut feel is that he is going to press charges against President Jacob Zuma. I think there are two issues here. One, it may be the case that there's an overwhelming evidence for him to decide in favor of pressing the charges. But the second thing is that at a personal level, he has been facing challenges of integrity. And that is worth the salt of occupying that position. And therefore, part of that, in demonstrating that, he might want to press charges against the former President Jacob Zuma. So it's a personal issue, but it is also dependent on the available evidence at stake. My gut feel is that he will go ahead. It may not be all the charges that have been mentioned thus far, but some of them. All
right, so he's got to rescue what's left of his integrity.
Yeah.
All right, back to Parliament now.
Yes.
Your general impressions of how President Cyril Ramaphosa answered questions yesterday in Parliament. Did he meet your expectations, maybe?
Look, I think the entirety of Parliament, the interaction, I think for me, it was an important. I think Cyril Ramaphosa does come with a challenge for the opposition because he argues, he articulates, he shows some serious degrees of confidence. But at the same time, the opposition also, I think they slightly rose to the occasion. I think the most interesting thing for me is when the Balagambete tried to stop Julius Malema from pressing the president to answer. And I think it takes a statesman to say that, look, it's okay, I can deal with this problem.
Yeah. And he was even applauded by Malema himself, saying that, thank you, that was presidential.
But you see, that shows that, as a Speaker of Parliament, you don't necessarily have to defend the president. The president can articulate himself. And I think in the past, the Speaker used to protect the president, and yet the president could have done far much more by standing up and say, it's fine, let me address this matter like he did yesterday.
And of course, on that particular point, the EFF, as we say, they were not impressed with how the president responded to the issue of former President Jacob Zuma's legal fees. What do you make on that? I mean, the president saying to the EFF, look, give us a week, in a week's time we'll be able to come back and give you a response on that matter.
It comes up as an honest type of response. Secondly, it means they acknowledge that the answer was not sufficient. Thirdly, it puts pressure on his top bureaucrats to take the questions from the opposition seriously. Because when he does this pep talk back in the office, he will tell them that, no, it is not acceptable, that will be caught wanting for questions that have been submitted in written, far in advance. So I think that's good for the interaction between the opposition and the president. But it does say to society that questions will be answered, they'll be responded to in detail as they have been asked. For me, it was a good acknowledgement.
Yeah. And of course, the issue that also came out that President Jacob Zuma has actually undertaken to pay back the money if he was found to have acted in his personal capacity?
Well, I think that was, for me, that's a general, that's what the law says.
Yeah.
You are sitting president, nothing is ever given that everything that you do, you are covered legally. In most cases, when you are found to be guilty, then you have to cover the cost for yourself. And I mean, we can use the unfortunate example of former Commissioner Jeke Silibe. When he was found guilty, the state then was not liable to pay for his legal fees. It had to come from his pocket. And if you're not carefully, in the latter part of Zuma's presidency, the courts were going that way to compel him to pay for the legal costs from his pockets, because it appeared that he was abusing the justice process, even when it was clear that he was going to lose the case.
And now the issue of expropriation of land without compensation, surely it's still not sitting well with the DA. The DA leader, Mmusi Maimane, basically saying that, tell us how is it going to be done, Mr. President? The response to that, how do you think President Ramaphosa was able to respond sufficiently to that particular question? And of course also what he said about the city of Joburg Mayor Herman Mashaba, that he's already implementing that expropriation.
You see, Palisa, that's where the problem is. The political party that has a problem with the land expropriation, with that compensation, frankly, it's not the ANC. It is the official opposition. It is the DA. And come the election, the DA is likely to suffer because of his stance from the hands of the voters, because of the position that they are taking. And here's why it is a problem. Number one, the DA is predominantly becoming more and more black in terms of support base, but also at a leadership level. It is equally led by a black leader, Mmusi Maimane. So and the constituencies that the DA is courting, it does want land redistribution, whether with compensation or not. So if he comes up to articulate the position of the party as seeking to find the means, for many of the voters, it is read as being anti-land expropriation without compensation. So that's going to be the difficult part. What the DA probably needs to do is not so much to put pressure on the ANC to deal with this matter any other way, but to look into itself and generate a position that is going to satisfy its voters. So the more Maimane articulates himself against the land expropriation, against compensation, frankly, he's not hitting the ANC where it hurts the most. He's hitting his own party where it hurts the most, at the black voters level.
It's going to be a very difficult one for them. Just a quick one on this, Dumisani. The president's also committing yesterday to bringing stability at the NPO, of course. How is he faring as far as the issues of or around law enforcement agencies are concerned? Are you happy with what we've seen so far happening in terms of law enforcement agencies?
Well, happiness is a matter of degrees. I think it's doing fairly well. I think law enforcement agencies, by their own, motivated by the change in political leadership, have in the recent weeks or months come alive and to be seen to be doing what they are supposed to be doing. So it's not so much maybe what it tells them, but the existence of a new political leadership which comes with new energies and opportunities and hope and motivation. And I think it drives them to perform better on what they are mandated for. So we are likely to see a better working condition in that regard. All
right, we'll leave it at that. Thank you so much for coming through.
Thank you.
Thank you so much indeed to Dumisani Hlophe, a political analyst and governance specialist from the Unisa School of Governance. Interesting insights, of course, into yesterday's events in the National Assembly, where President Cyril Ramaphosa took some questions from political parties in his first question and answer session. Let us know how you feel about what happened in Parliament. Of course, the response by President Cyril Ramaphosa at Morning Live SABC. It's our Twitter handle. We're taking a quick ad break.